It is coming down.
We are live back
Oh,
with
yeah.
a Friday edition of your wildest fantasy football show. Cody, how are you feeling on this Feel Good Friday?
I'm feeling great. It's kind of stormy outside right now, so it's a great day to just sit inside and enjoy football.
Well, we can enjoy some of the news of
Yeah.
football that has happened over the past few hours. Yesterday, we got some pretty big breaking news. We also had a wild game that just further shows we have no idea what's happening. No one has any idea what's happening with the Miami Dolphins defeating the Baltimore Ravens pretty easily, might I add. Which would you like to start with?
We can, we can save the Monday or the Thursday football game for a second.
Okay. So the big news of the day, the big news of the week, probably, is everybody trying to figure out where is Odell Beckham Jr. going? Where is he going to sign? Was released from the Cleveland Browns last week.
Indeed.
And now it is official that Odell Beckham Jr. is signing with, I think we're moving, the
Woo!
Rams. Very weird move, if I'm going to be honest.
No.
It was a name that was in there in the conversation a lot. Let me throw up a little bang
There. There it
background.
is. There it
Really
is.
all together. Yeah, I thought it was a weird move
Mm-hmm.
for Odell. I mean,
Right.
he can make the choice that he wants to make
Exactly.
in that situation. And if he wants to go get a ring, like I can't really blame a guy for that. But it's odd just because it's a 1-year deal. So he's going to have to try to get paid next year.
Mm-hmm.
And being in a situation where I'm not sure that that offense changes for Odell. I
Right.
just think of recent, we've seen enough from Odell to make that happen, like
Mhm.
to make a team that's been pretty awesome this year say, okay, we are going to really turn to Odell as they're not turning to him as their number one and they're not turning to him as their number two. So I could see him taking the Van Jefferson role of a just speedy deep threat. I think that's where he fits in here. I think it's going to be like a 5 to 6 target a game thing for Odell, but I obviously was in the camp of like, hopefully the Patriots, obviously for fantasy purposes, hopefully the Patriots,
Right.
hopefully the Saints. And I just thought it would have made more sense for him going to be a free agent next year
Right.
and looking to land another deal to be a number one somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little odd to see him sacrifice to take a third option on an offense role. But I think the two things to discuss is like, what is this for Odell? What does this mean for him in
Mm-hmm.
fantasy? And then what does this mean? I think a lot of people may worry about what this means for the other Rams pass catchers because I was worried at first. I was like, oh, well, this is not what you want to see, regardless of whether you're worried or not.
Right. I think. All right. So a lot to unfold, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Him him going to the Rams, not where I thought he was going to go either. Um, Weird choice in my opinion because there is two other good pass catchers out there, Cooper Cup and Robert Woods. Um, for fantasy, I really think it. I think OBJ is going to hurt Cooper Cup and Robert Woods more than I think he's going to hurt them more than other people might think, just because Cooper Cup's been on a tear as of late. So he's going to have, you know, he's probably going to draw the number one. And then Robert Woods and OBJ are going to be split for the number two in terms of the best corner matchup for their team. And OBJ can get open like in a phone booth. Like he's just really good at creating space. Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback. We've seen it this year. I think OBJ is just going to be too open for them to just be like, nah, we're just going to continually feed Cooper Kupp, force feed him into double coverage, try to feed Robert Woods. I think OBJ pushes into a wide receiver, a back end wide receiver 2 conversation.
Wow.
I mean, if you like just thinking about it, you have 3 I'd consider stud wide receivers out there, wouldn't you? I mean,
I
if
think I think Odell's good, but like,
mhm,
and I agree with you. Like, he has been able to get open. I'm a little bit more worried about, like, I think he is more of a clear 3 on this offense than he is in the Robert Woods camp of like being splitting time as their number 2 outside wide receiver. I know that they're both going to be on the field at the same time, but like as far as target wise,
I think OBJ just his presence on the football field is going to be noticed much more than a Van Jefferson was. He's going to be more open than Van Jefferson was. He's going to be utilized in a different way than Van Jefferson was. So I think comparing the 2 of them does both of them a disservice, more so to OBJ, just because OBJ has earned the right to be considered one of the best wide receivers in the game, whereas Van Jefferson still hasn't earned that right yet.
yeah,
And
I
I
think
think
he's
Matthew
better
Stafford, right? He's better,
he's better than Van Jefferson, obviously.
and
I
I
don't think
think
anybody would argue that.
right. So I think
My
he's going to get
take
more targets.
my take role wise, and I said that I think he's going to see, I guess I didn't say it clearly, but looking at Van Jefferson's numbers, which I don't have pulled up right now,
I
but
got him.
I feel pretty confident that he wasn't getting 6 targets a game.
He got um,
I'm sure there's some games
three,
where
3, 6, 6, 4, 4, 7, 6, 7. So in the last 3 games, he got 7, 6, and 7. In the
I don't
past,
see Odell getting more than like 6, like 7 targets a game, which, and that's why I think maybe the person this affects the most in a weird way is Daryl Henderson, because we've seen a team kind of a very good team, a team that won the Super Bowl last year, bank on their passing game and be able to support 3 fantasy wide receivers and a fantasy viable tight end. They sacrificed in the running game, and that's kind of what I could see happening here, especially in a Sean McVay offense where a lot of it is through throwing the ball. I get that, like, a
mhm,
lot of those bootlegs come off the play action, so they're still going to have to run it. And I don't think Daryl Henderson is going to be nothing, but where I think he was in the conversation to be a back end running back 1, whether I think that or not, I'm not saying, but I think he was in that conversation. Now I think he goes more into an RB2, like middle of the line RB2, because I could see this offense like Tampa Bay just passing the ball and really relying on the pass heavily.
mhm. I mean, so go comparing Tampa Bay, they had, I mean, Mike Evans was inside what top 12. Godwin, however you want to pronounce his name, was inside the top 8, I believe. And Antonio Brown was borderline 20s or something like that.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
think that the
Antonio Brown
talent,
has missed some games, but when he's in, he's averaging 16 points,
right?
and that's in half point PPR.
And I think that the comparison between Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and OBJ to Mike Evans, Godwin, and Brown is similar. I think that all 3 are good wide receivers for both teams and for any team really. So that's why I can see OBJ milking his way up there. I don't think the Rams sign OBJ and then are like, hey, you're gonna just go out there, you're gonna run a couple routes just like you did for the Browns. We're not gonna throw you the ball. You're just gonna be wide open. we want our own videotape from your father. I don't think they do that. I think they're just too good of an organization, and their offense is good enough that OBJ is not going to be the number one target. Therefore, he's going to receive a bunch of stuff. And I really think anyone who traded for OBJ, it's not like the best news. Like, obviously, he's not going to finish as a number one this year like he could have in different organizations. But I think you got yourself a nice wide receiver, like back end wide receiver 2 rest of season.
Yeah, I think we agree to an extent. I think Odell can be an intriguing wide receiver 3, which, I mean, back end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 isn't going to be too big of a difference. I'm just a little bit more cautious in it affecting like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Obviously, could affect him a little bit, but I don't think it's going to change Cooper Kupp being one of the best wide receivers in fantasy and Robert Woods being one of the top wide receiver 2s in fantasy.
I mean, Cooper Kupp's averaging 26.2 fantasy points a week.
I'm not saying that we don't expect regression out of him, but
I'm expecting more regression. I think he's still going to be a wide receiver 1. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he'll just finish that way just based off of how the team is. But I think he definitely loses that number 1 spot and maybe even the number 2 spot, maybe 3, to someone like Tyreek, who has more target volume by himself, someone like Davante Adams, who has more target volume by himself. And so I think he kind of drops that way. Cooper Kupp's still one of my favorite wide receivers to have. I just think that some of the touchdowns disappear now, that we would have seen him potentially grab 20 touchdowns this season, and it would have been like, oh yeah, that's what we expect. But I think the news affects everyone on this roster. I'm preparing myself for like some regression from Cooper and some regression from Robert, and then OBJ is wide receiver 86 right now. He's going to finish inside the top 30 for sure, in my mind.
I am not sure that I agree with that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's not a big area of disagreements, and I'm sure that it's kind of in that gap where a lot of people are right now. Whether Odell is, I think that's probably the bigger concern for a lot of people, is how is Odell going to eat into the other players on this team? And we've seen from some teams that there is enough for everybody. And like, if Cooper Kupp turns into a wide receiver 3 overall on the year, I don't think you're too upset being a Cooper Kupp manager either. My big thing, would you trade a Cooper Kupp right now for a Tyreek Hill straight up or a Davante Adams straight up? Because I'm not sure that I would be able to do that.
I would. I love Cooper Kupp, and I'm still banking on the fact that Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs are going to turn it around. I mean, Tyreek's averaging you 20 points a game, so I think you're fine there. Davante Adams, averaging you 19.3. He's wide receiver 6 right now. You definitely get. There it is. I don't think you're worried about it. I would do them both straight up, and wouldn't feel bad. I wouldn't feel bad about it, just because I think if you wait a couple games and OBJ is more of a factor than you think he's going to be, more than you think he's going to be, I think he's going to be a decent factor. But I mean, Cooper Kupp's projected for 24 fantasy points this week. I think if he has a game in the low 20s or even in the teens, that's not bad for any other wide receiver. But I think you lost your window of opportunity to do a straight up trade after that.
Well, I think that's kind of the point with Cooper Kupp, though, is that teens, low 20s is monster numbers for anyone in fantasy football. Obviously, outside of quarterback. But that's why I wouldn't sell him. Like, you're getting the most explosive offense in maybe the NFL, maybe outside of the Cardinals. That argument can very well be made. Maybe outside of the Cowboys, but like not right now, I would say. So like you're getting one of the most explosive offenses. And I mean, I'm not going to blame you if you trade for a Tyreek Hill or a Devontae Adams. It's Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. But I just like Cooper Kupp's getting double-digit targets in every game besides one so far this year. If it falls off, I still think he has the opportunity to post monster numbers. And I'm not sure that's going to fall off. Like, I don't know.
You're projecting
we are not going to.
Yeah, you're projecting double-digit touches from Cooper Kupp rest of the season, like every week.
I said I'm not sure that's going to fall off. So I don't think it's going to be like a big difference. If he gets 8 targets a game, if he gets 9 targets a game, I think that's going to be on the lower end of where you see him. Yeah, I don't really see it because we saw Van Jefferson get 7 targets and it not affect Cooper Kupp. So I don't expect the target difference to be that different with Odell. I see the performance being a little bit better, but like I don't see the target and usage being that more extensive.
I mean, we really only saw Van Jefferson get 6 or 7 targets in 5 games. So not a huge sample size. He got 3, 2 weeks, 4, I think 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, but you said so in the last 3 games, he has 7 targets.
7, 6, 7.
And Kupp in that span.
13, 9, 13.
Yeah.
If
that can happen, I am okay.
I still think it's going to eat into it a little bit. I think OBJ is a better option than Van Jefferson. And OBJ is 29 years old. Like, he's not falling off the cliff yet.
No.
Still very young, still insanely explosive. I think we just have, like, if the OBJ went straight to the Rams from from the Giants, people, like, this conversation would be different because you're just you would have been, but that's the same OBJ. Like,
I don't know if it's the same OBJ. That's been what?
I mean,
3 years?
OBJ can still make insane catches. He hasn't wanted to play for the Browns since like midway through the first season. So we've seen 2
I don't know about that. I mean,
he demanded
may have.
He demanded.
You do own all the teams, so he may have told you that. But I am outside of the loop on him not wanting to play for the Browns for 2.5 years.
He came out, I'm pretty sure, after the first year and said, like, trade me. Then they didn't trade him the second year.
I don't believe that is true.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think we're going to come to too much of an agreement, even though I think we're very close to the same. So I don't know why there's as much bickering as there is, but that's also probably just what the show is. So moving on to another thing that happened yesterday, an actual football game.
We did have a football game.
Baltimore fans would probably argue whether one side showed up or not. But it was a tough loss for the Ravens, who were expected to be one of the best teams in the AFC, to the Miami Dolphins, who switched quarterbacks midway through. And this time, there's actually Tua saving the day. Nice change of pace for him, I'm sure. Agreed. Okay.
Sorry. I was waiting for you. I thought you were going to continue. I did find the article, by the way, Kondo.
Okay.
OBJ has reportedly told players and coaches on other teams that he wants out of Cleveland. This was December 8th.
Establishing a new Amazon minimum wage of $15.
That was December 8th, 2019. So that was during the first year he was there.
There were those rumors. Yes, those were rumors.
I mean, rumors, sure. Sure, rumors. Miami won the football game. Rumor.
That actually happened.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, Brissett watching the game, Brissett hurt his knee. He wanted to come back in, but coach sat him. Shows the heart of the guy out there. But yeah, Tua came in. He played good football. Well, not great football, but he played good enough football to secure them to win. Stole the touchdown away from Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin was clearly in the end zone, so that kind of sucked. But
I had to get to that one. I knew that one was coming.
Well, I mean, if you watched it, he got in there, and then they're like, "Hey, we got
to talk." But like, that just goes into the premise of what I've been selling for months. Like, if you can celebrate the Cordell Patterson thing, I need to celebrate the Myles Gaskin. It's every other week. Like, whether it's his fault or not, he did not. I don't know that it was his fault that he didn't run well. Like, he was just getting tackled behind the line every opportunity. Like, and then whenever he got a good run, there was a penalty.
He got like 3 good runs that they finally counted, and I was like, keep giving him the ball. And then watching the game, the refs, I felt like were just really on Baltimore's side. And like two, well, I mean, if you watched it, so in the fourth quarter, middle of it, I think like 7 or 8 minutes left, the punt down to the 1 yard line, half-yard line, whatever. Lamar gets tackled or sacked or whatever, or he gets hit as he's throwing the football, and they call it roughing the passer as the guy is touching Lamar as he has the ball in his hand and like trying to tackle him because he doesn't know if the ball left yet. And they said roughing the passer. And then they did this same thing like 2 plays later, which was not even close to roughing the passer. Those were the 2 most obvious that I saw, and I was like, this game is just going against it. I said they just want Miami to lose every chance they get. But good job, Miami's defense, for securing a W.
So you're saying they did win?
That's what the rumors said. I mean,
there's no rumor.
If OBJ's going out and telling people, "Hey, come get me. I don't want to play in Cleveland."
Well, you may be able to prove the rumors are not true if you had, or the rumors were true if you had some sort of contact with him. But it says reportedly. So that made me think, I don't know. Back to this game, Myles Gaskin, just for like the stats, not trying to rub this in your face. 14 for 31, had 1 catch for 14 yards for 5.5 fantasy points. And it's just an every other week thing. Like, congrats to Myles Gaskin owners that, okay, this week is done. Was not the best week. But now you have the Jets to look forward to, and he's going to put up a double-digit week. So brighter things are ahead. And then worse things the week after that, but then brighter things once again. This is just – I think that Myles Gaskin might be the most predictable fantasy player in the league, and it doesn't make sense as to why he is predictable, but it adds up, and I don't think we need to overthink it any more than that.
Yeah, if you say so.
It is. I mean, if you look at it, there's no clearer pattern, I don't think, for any other fantasy running back. It's wild. And that makes me think, like, do you get him next week and then sell him? Because you know the following week is going to be a struggle. Or do you keep him and then just bench him every other week?
I don't know. It's tough. You know, it's tough. It's tough loving a guy like this.
I imagine it is. And that's why I kind of feel sympathy in the end. It's hard for me to bash him too much because number one, he's going to have an awesome game next week. And then 2, I just see the pain.
It's tough.
Moving on to, I think the person we got to talk about, we'll talk to him too,
Yeah, we can try.
but talk about on the Baltimore side
Mhm,
is Rashad Bateman.
mhm,
A really good game. He was 6 for 80, 6 for
mhm.
80 on 8 targets, 14 fantasy points. Sammy Watkins had a terrible game. On the very opposite side of things, that's what we were kind of hesitant on. We
Mhm.
haven't seen Rashad Bateman with Sammy Watkins in the mix. I think now it's pretty clear that, well, number one, Rashad Bateman, we talked about his talent
Right.
when he was on IR, and now him getting to prove it, and Sammy Watkins proving that
Mhm.
there is big difference in between the two. I think Rashad Bateman just has a real deal role in this offense going forward.
Yeah, he definitely looked better out there. Obviously, Sammy went 1 for 3, -3 yards in the fumble. Or sorry, 1 for 3, 7 yards in the fumble, getting him to -0.3. Sorry, my bad. Uh, it was tough to watch. Uh, I think Bateman looks like he could be the number 2. Um, to determine like how much worth that's going to have in this Baltimore offense, still yet to be determined. Um,
But he's definitely a guy that has to be rostered.
I think he deserves a consideration for the roster spot. Um, again, I mean, Marquise Brown had under 10 fantasy points in full point PPR this week. So I kind of want to see him play a couple games. Like they're playing Chicago, then they're playing Cleveland. So those 2 games are going to be like better games, I think, better defenses than I think Miami is. I don't know how Miami was able to pull it off, but they were.
Well,
I
we
kind
saw
of
Marquise Brown get, and I'm not worried about him. I don't think you are too much either. He still got 13 targets. So the
exactly.
fact that
That's
Bateman was able to get 8 targets in a game where Marquise Brown was targeted 13 times, I get that they had to throw the ball a little bit more than they usually do. I think that might be more of the concern for Bateman going forward, if there is any.
right. I mean, I think Miami did a great job at taking away what Baltimore is good at, and that is running the football. I think they came into the game averaging like 170 something rushing yards a game. And when you just kept blitzing Lamar and forced him to play quarterback, we could just see the fruits of that from the defensive side. And I think like they just had to keep throwing. It was a close game. I mean, it was what 6-3 at halftime. Like it was a really close game. Baltimore could have just gone back to what they were doing, like have been doing all year, and just run the ball. But to see them like just feel the pressure from Miami and have to throw it. I mean, better days are to come for Brown for sure. This I think could be what Bateman looks like, 8 targets a game potentially. Um, I just don't. I don't know for sure, just because I don't think Baltimore is going to be passing it, you know, 29 times between 3 guys, and then Mark Andrews got 8, Bateman got 8, Brown got 13. So that's not even including Freeman or I'm not even going to try this guy's name, Devin Duvernay.
If you
I think
said it like all at once, you would have got it perfect.
Duvernay. I don't know. It just sounds French. I don't.
Duvernay.
Tough. I don't know.
I think it's the other way.
No, that's not. No.
That's a hook 'em.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the weekend games, unless you had anything else from last night.
No, not.
Okay. Buffalo at the Jets. We did this. Never mind.
Yeah, we did.
Moving on to Sunday's games. Let's try this again.
Oh man,
Carolina at Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about Cam getting signed yesterday, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. But I just want to recap a little bit in case people did not see.
Right.
So I personally think that Cam does offer a little bit of a boost to this offense, especially to where they've been of late. I mean, I think you could argue that Sam was playing as bad as anybody in recent weeks. And we saw what they were able to do when he wasn't playing that poorly.
Mhm.
And we saw him break the pocket a little bit. We saw him leading the league in rushing touchdowns from a quarterback when he was having success. So having a rushing quarterback has not, although it was Sam Darnold and not Cam, was conducive to that offense before. So I think you're not picking up Cam and right away
Mhm.
unless you're looking at like a spot start kind of thing. But I think it can help the offense move at least better than it has been. I think it can be a boost to DJ Moore. I think it can help Christian McCaffrey just because I think they're going to move the ball better with Cam back there. I don't think they're going to be a great offense, but it's a little bit of a boost and maybe not even in the long term, but a hopefulness. Maybe not even that confident in Cam,
Mhm.
but just having someone new in there gives me hope that things can get better for these awesome fantasy options that value has been dwindled because of how bad the quarterback play was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough. It's Cam Newton. Um, we all know what Cam Newton is. Like, he's not the most accurate passer in the world. That's what every report says on Cam Newton.
Let's
Is he?
reportedly.
No, like just like everyone says it. They're like Mac Jones was more accurate when he went to New England. Something that I think is funny is that Carolina is now paying Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, and Cam Newton to all replace Cam Newton, the guy they didn't want, and now all three of them are getting paid to replace this one guy who's now back.
Life comes full circle.
It does when does go full circle. You know what else has a circle in it? A donut.
I like donuts.
I like
I think
donuts
you
too.
do too.
Yeah, glazed donuts best donut.
I don't know about that.
I think they're so good. Anyway, enough about donuts. We'll talk about that later. I mean, we've already seen Cam Newton in Carolina with CMC. Like, we already know how that goes. We know Cam's strong suits and we know Cam's weaknesses. Like, it's just like it's well documented at this time about what he can do, what he can't do. So I don't know. I mean, it might give like a shock to the team. I don't know. I mean, it's yet to be determined how that is. I mean, one thing.
We saw Cam be a top level quarterback and CMC be a number one running back with Cam there.
Right, but then we
Top
saw
level fantasy quarterback, I should say.
But then we saw last year in New England, just Cam have a couple good games, just like Sam did in the start of the year, and then fall off. So we don't know what quarterback Cam we're going to get going back to New England or going back
I
to
agree.
Carolina.
I was just saying back to we've seen him in
Mhm.
Cleveland. We know what to expect. It was sometimes very good in Carolina, or I
Mhm.
think I said Cleveland on
You
accident.
did say Cleveland.
Carolina. And then sometimes at the end, very bad. So I don't know if we know what to expect because of that inconsistency that comes with Cam, but I think
Mhm.
it's just a hope. And through the power of positivity, I'm hoping that it can help DJ Moore become a number one wide receiver in fantasy again,
Mhm.
help Christian McCaffrey go back to being the dominant top fantasy running back.
Right. I mean, I hope the best for everyone. I just, I'm tempering my
I'm not
expectations.
sure about that.
I really do though. Like I always say it. I just want to see how Cam does for like 2 games. Like one game, obviously you can look really good. Next game, you can go back to being the guy everyone thinks you are. And if he puts up 2 great games, awesome. I'll put Cam number 1 on my waiver wire pickup. Say his name first and everything. The only thing I know is Carolina probably just lost PJ Walker. If you're a big PJ Walker guy, he's going to leave at the end of the season. Yes, is what it is. As soon as he can leave, he's out. Just
Is PJ Walker just going to get that next starting opportunity?
I think he's just like, hey, I'm here, guys. Why am I not getting the start? Sam's out. You got rid of this guy. Let me play. I'm just a big PJ Walker sympathizer at this point, and I think someone needs to like start beating on the drum.
You just want the best for him.
Yeah, free PJ Walker. Let him go to the Jets and put up 400-yard passing games and let him get a good contract, feed his family.
I would like you to say that you wish the best for Justin Fields. That's the one person I'd like to hear you wish.
I always wish the best for Justin Fields. I just, if I see someone play bad, I'm going to say they played bad. If I see someone play good, I'm going to tell them they played good. And until I get proven otherwise, if you play bad, you play bad. Is what it is.
We didn't talk about the Arizona injuries. Kyler and Hopkins both did not participate yesterday. Kyler was seen at practice today, though.
Right.
So a little bit of positivity towards him. AJ Green was limited yesterday. I would say that he is expected to play.
Mm-hmm.
The big name here is James Conner. Had 40, I think, last week.
James Conner had 40.3 with
three touchdowns. I don't know if we're banking on 3 touchdowns again. I don't know if we're banking on 40 again, but he's going to be a big part of this offense. Obviously, a Carolina defense that's scarier.
Exactly.
But you're starting him, and what are you expecting? Are you expecting like running back 2 numbers?
Yeah, I'm expecting double digits just because Hopkins isn't going to be 100%. AJ Green's not 100%. Moore's not 100%. Kyler isn't 100% either. So I'm expecting that they're going to rely on James Conner to be the dominant back that he was for Pittsburgh. So I'm kind of banking on that for James Conner. I'm not expecting another 40-point game with 3 touchdowns, but I could see him getting a touchdown, getting double digits.
This Arizona offense, pretty explosive.
Right.
And I think he might be the one guy that I'm trusting, especially, I don't know, like, can you trust any of those wide receivers?
Not confidently right now. I mean, they're playing Carolina. Carolina has just a nasty defense this year. So not super confident. If you have someone who you're considering over one of these guys and it's like a close discussion, I think you go with the other guy just for this game. Rest of the season, these guys are going to be fine. Hopkins, AJ Green, Kyler Murray. But this game against Carolina, just being banged up, you want your guys to be 100% when you play Carolina. They just have a good defense this year.
Yeah, and it depends, a big part of it, whether Kyler plays or not. We saw Colt McCoy pretty heavily target Christian Kirk. He was the most successful wide receiver there. I wouldn't say pretty heavily targeted. He only got 6 targets. But he had 6 catches for 91 yards, 16.42 fantasy points. Did he throw a pass as well? Must have. He did, actually. That did happen. So he was the top of the wide receiver targets there. So it's going to be different with AJ Green, so I'm not trusting it that much. But if you need a dart throw or something like that, I would go with Christian Kirk, especially if Colt McCoy plays. If he doesn't, I think I would go AJ Green if I had to choose one of these wide receivers to go with. Moving into Philly at Denver. Denver the favorites in this one.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
I don't even want to talk about the Philly running backs. Jordan Howard, I think, I don't even want to say that.
I want you to make
I'm just holding back, like cursing out Nick Sirianni for what he puts me through on a bi-weekly basis, because I have to review the game and then we have to break it down or break down next week's game. And I just don't even know what to say.
Bi-weekly means every 2 weeks.
Well, I mean bi-weekly in the other sense.
There is no other sense.
It's like, I think there is. I think there could be. I would negotiate for a change in that if there is not.
No, I own Webster's dictionary.
What would you say?
You say twice a week.
Well, that's not one word. I'm trying to keep it concise. We have
twice a week.
At 39 minutes. We got to get going here.
We just spent a minute giving you an English lesson.
I think I'm right. Bi-weekly breakdown of this Eagles running back situation. I can't do it. I don't think anyone can. I think it's a job not for me.
I'll do it for you.
If Nick Sirianni could come on the show, it would be
Yeah,
very helpful. But Cody's going to do it, so
yeah,
maybe we don't even need him.
yeah. I mean, you start Jalen Hurts at the running back position for you this week. That's all you need.
Not possible.
Oh, well, if it was possible, that's what I'd be starting. You know, absolute dominant runner for him so far this year. Only one game below 35 yards, so absolute beast. But yeah, I don't know if I'd start any Eagles running back. I think I start D. Smith, I start Dallas Goddard, and I start Jalen Hurts. That's it. I think those are the three guys that you're starting, and maybe a kicker if you're like thinking Elliott's going to be just a dinger from long this week. But I think you really just start those three guys and sit the running backs until they figure themselves out back there. And if like this just turns out to be a committee, it's just going to be officially a team that you want to stay away from because it's so hard to rely on a committee guy to perform week in and week out for you for no reason, just game plan.
The only consistency we've seen is that Jordan Howard gets the goal line carries, and for that reason, I would play Jordan Howard over some of the guys that we mentioned in the Thursday night game, even though that probably doesn't help right now.
No.
And Antonio Gibson, unfortunately, I would probably play Jordan Howard over. But not many more than that. Antonio Gibson plays Tampa Bay. If he didn't play Tampa Bay, then I wouldn't say that. But this Denver defense did do very well last week as well against Dallas, against the run.
Right. I'm with you.
Denver, what do we talk about? Wide receivers?
What did I say for this game? I said it's going to be a good running back day for him.
Okay. Not the wide receivers.
No, not really. I mean, Philly's better against they're fourth best against the pass in terms of fantasy points to wide receivers. And after seeing, I mean, Tim Patrick is a little banged up. He has a knee injury, limited participant on Thursday. So it's going to be Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton as the healthiest wide receivers. But against Philly's pass defense, like they actually have a pass defense this year, I think it's a little bit tougher to play Sutton. I think you've played Jerry Jeudy, but I think like for people who we're starting to like wanting to sit Sutton, I think you continue the trend of sitting him. I think Melvin Gordon just eats this game. I think Jay Williams eats this game. Not as much. I think Gordon's going to have the better fantasy football day. Just Philly's weak against the run this year is what it is.
Yeah, I think you're starting both of those running backs, obviously. I'm not starting Cortland Sutton in almost any case. He'll score a touchdown this week. But, yeah, I'm starting Ayuk over him. And we'll talk about Ayuk later, but I don't know that I'm feeling like amazing about him. Right. But it is what it is with Cortland Sutton right now. And what it is not good. Going on to Seattle at Green Bay. Green Bay favorites in this game. I think that might be a little wild. We have to talk about a lot of people coming back. Russ coming back. Aaron Rodgers possibly expected to return. Chris Carson, I think, is the biggest fantasy person to talk about here because you're starting Russ if he's back.
Right.
You're starting Rodgers if he's back. Are you starting Chris Carson if he's back?
Yes. Green Bay's run defense doesn't scare me as much as many others in the league, and especially with DK Metcalf missing practice on Thursday because of a foot injury. I like it even more just because if you're going to be without DK, I always think running backs are just going to eat more when you lose a wide receiver, just kind of how it plays out. But yeah, I'd start Russell if he's back. I'd start Carson if he's back. I'd start Lockett. And obviously, if DK does play, I'm starting DK. But
yeah, DK's been dealing with that foot injury throughout the year.
Exactly.
So that has been something that hasn't kept him out yet. Don't take my word that it won't this week because we saw Alvin Kamara pop up on the injury report for an injury that we had no idea was going to happen, and now he's not they're expecting that he is not going to play. So Carson's a tricky case here. I think he's kind of in that conversation with a lot of guys, which is just on the line of who do you have? He's probably going to be in that back end RB2 range for me. Like, I'm probably starting a Darrell Williams over him because I'm not positive, and I'm not sure that I want to take the risk that Carson is going to be. He's not going to have the backfield to himself because he wasn't having that when he was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Alex Collins get more involved. We saw the splits become more even. And now they have Rashad Penny, who they like for some reason. I don't think that he's going to get this Chris Carson-like workload that we expected to start the year.
Right.
That worries me. I would like to see that before I really feel great about putting him in my lineup in comparison to a guy like a Darrell Williams. Gets trickier down the board once you look at like a Melvin Gordon or Javonte. I think those are two names that are a little bit more interesting, tricky.
Interesting. I mean, Chris Carson got double digits week 1, 2, and 3. Week 4, he didn't. That was the only week he didn't. Granted, he has 3 touchdowns in those 3 weeks, so kind of helps inflate the numbers by a lot. But I still like it.
Are you starting him over the Denver running backs?
Starting him over, I don't know about. No, not Gordon, but over Williams for sure.
Interesting.
I wouldn't start him over Darrell Williams for Kansas City just because it's Kansas City. I think they have to figure it out eventually, and kind of hoping it's this game. So no for Melvin Gordon, no for Darrell Williams, but yes for Javonte Williams, yes for the Washington running backs.
Agree.
Yes for whatever running backs are playing Tampa Bay. I can't even think of the name right now.
The Washington running backs.
Oh, yeah. See, even better. Double down on them. Just really rub their nose in it.
I have an interesting one. If Damian Harris wasn't to play, would you rather, and Ramondre Stevenson wasn't to play, would you rather play Brandon Bolden or Chris Carson? Blanked out.
I'm going to have to go Chris Carson if both those guys miss it.
I'm going Bolden.
Yeah. I mean, Bolden's going to
I can't blame you.
Yeah, he's going to drop 35 just because I said I'd rather have Chris Carson. He's going to take it personally. But, yeah, I just don't trust it. I just kind of think Myers is going to play. That's his why. Not Myers. Harris is going to play.
Okay. Neither of those guys, Ramondre or Damian Harris, in practice today. There will be more updates throughout the weekend, I am sure. KC at Las Vegas. This is a Sunday night game. We discussed earlier in the week question marks of starting a Patrick Mahomes. And while it's very risky, I want to throw out some names and see if you would start these guys over Mahomes. Now, these are names that are probably around waiver wire additions or maybe out there in a good portion of leagues. These are not like I wouldn't do Mahomes over Herbert or something like that. But Mahomes versus the Raiders or Wentz at Jacksonville.
I mean, is Carson healthy? Carson, he has the COVID, so he's like unexpected to play, right? He's on the COVID watch list, right? He's not?
No. Unless that just happened.
Wentz was a limited participant in Thursday's practice due to a non-COVID related illness. Oh, never mind, not COVID, so just a regular illness. I'll take Patty over. I'll take Patty over flu game Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz also Baby expected to be born on Sunday. Had to
Oh,
talk with
so
his wife. He's playing.
I mean, maybe not. He could be sick right now, so who knows?
I'm not worried about Carson Wentz being sick. The man played on 2 sprained ankles. I think he'll be fine.
I mean, he is also your quarterback, so it's kind of
Yeah, but I don't think that my quarterback is strong phrasing.
Wait, wasn't it week 3 he had the 2 sprained ankles?
Yeah, and he played through. I played the next
I mean,
week.
week 3 he had 7.7 fantasy points. So
But what
I'm
did he
not
have the next week?
against Miami,
Yeah.
17.
Well, that's the point. Actually, no, it's not the point because week 2 he had the 2 sprained ankles. He got the 2 sprained ankles, and week 3 was the week after he had them. Now, does he have 2 sprained ankles anymore? No.
Maybe. You don't know.
But I'm not sure that this illness is anything that
Mhm.
I'm totally worried about. It's a close
I
call.
I
I'd
think
rather not give my opinion because I think it's going to be bad. This segment's about me asking you the questions.
yeah, I mean, I think Kansas City just figures it out, and um, with all the, you know, things happening in Vegas this year, I think crazier things have happened than Kansas City figuring out how to play football again.
I'm not sure they completely figure it
Mhm.
out, but I think they are able to grind out wins. And like, you're not worried about their fantasy options other than Mahomes.
Right. I mean, can't. Sorry, the Raiders are letting up over 300 passing yards a game, so their secondary is susceptible to some holes being in it. I think Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey are some of the better positional players at their respective positions, and I think they can figure out how to get open in a defense that's letting up pass yards every game.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
just kind of why I think they're going to figure it out. Like if Patty Mahomes goes out there, throws for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, I think that's a great game. I think that's a great turning point for the Chiefs. And I think that's like all I'm kind of looking for, especially with the rough 3 games that Patty's faced, where he's thrown for less than 300 yards, hasn't had 2 touchdowns, fumbled, 2 interceptions in those times, and hasn't got above 14 fantasy points in those last 3 games. So that's really all I'm looking for is like a decent game from him to like regain confidence in Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs
yeah,
offense.
I think all of us are looking for that.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm just not sure that I am like,
Mhm.
you, it's hard to not start Patrick Mahomes.
Right, and I don't think
And I think
Carson Wentz is not the guy that I think I'm going to.
what about Matt Ryan versus Dallas?
No, I mean he could. I mean Cordell Patterson can make magic happen out there. Get the ball, like do a little swing pass to Cordell Patterson, let him run it for 70 yards and a touchdown, and Matt Ryan looks really good. But I just
You're talking about an MVP right here.
yeah, Cordell Patterson MVP.
No, Matt Ryan is an MVP.
Right. But he's also quarterback 18 on the year.
I'm not saying that I would take Matt
I'm
Ryan. I
not
just
taking
stated a
him.
fact.
Yeah, I'm not taking him.
Okay. Kirk Cousins against the Chargers.
Oh,
My last one.
it hurts me to say it, but I got to go against Kirk.
Yeah. I don't think just the name Mahomes, it's going to be hard to go against
Right.
him because, like, yeah, Mahomes might put up 10. He might I don't think he's going to put up 7 again. But Mahomes can also put up 30, which none of these guys can do.
Patrick
Now,
Mahomes could drop a 35-point game this game against the Raiders, and I don't think Carson has that potential, and I don't think neither does Kirk or Matt Ryan. I think all 3 of them are good, functional, real-life quarterbacks. Obviously, I don't like Kirk just because of some personal things he's done to the football team, which I truly bleed colors for. But it's neither here nor there.
fair enough.
Fair enough.
Speaking of color, you just look red to me, like in comparison. I've
Stupid
noticed our
light.
skin tones are
I cannot get this light.
far off.
Yeah.
I thought you may have had a day drinking on the town,
H2O, baby.
hydrated.
Yes. Stay hydrated.
Anything with the Raiders? Obviously, Kenyon Drake has had a
Right.
couple big games, especially with this new coaching staff right now. Not necessarily new coaching staff, but um, are you like taking a look at him as like a flex option or?
I think you have to. Um, you have to at least consider it, right? Um, unless you have, if your team's unbelievably good and blessed this year, then no, this conversation doesn't like partake to you. But if you're like an
Okay.
average person who didn't get Cooper Cup in the third round and didn't get Cordell Patterson off waiver wires and didn't pick up Tom Brady and all these other great guys who were just later in the draft, then yeah, I think you're fine with Kenyon Drake being your flex this week. Um, I mean, past 3 games he's played 21, 16.9, and 16 even. So that's a beautiful mug.
Thank you.
So
I've been using it for weeks.
I know I just wanted to say it this time.
Okay. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I just think Kenyon Drake has a good shot to be good. Um, Josh Jacobs also has put up double digits in the past, you know, 5 out of 6 weeks. They had the bye week, so 5 out of 5 in terms of games. So both running backs seem to be getting enough to get at least double digits for you. And I think that's all you're really looking for in your flex, unless you want like a boom. If you want a boom potential guy, then sure. But I think if you're going for a floor, start them until they prove you wrong. I said start everyone until Edwards and Jackson. So I'm starting Kenyon Drake confidently.
Zay
Starting,
Jones.
no, I said till them. So Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro, Dan Carson, Kenyon Drake are all guys who I would be happy with in their respective positions. Kenyon Drake would be a flex for me or RB2. But Brian Edwards and Deshaun Jackson are both guys who I'm not loving this week. But like, if you want to start them, I'd love to hear an argument for it.
I think the Brian Edwards is a lot less intriguing than
Mhm.
the Deshaun Jackson. I don't think you're starting either, but you can obviously see the role that Deshaun Jackson would go to fill.
Right.
And I've seen him get picked up on some waiver wires. I don't know that you necessarily would have to do that. I'm sure he is still out there in a good portion of leagues. Yeah, not over 90% of leagues. So
Right. 90
I
over 95% of leagues right now.
over 96.
Over that, yeah, that is a high number.
He is rostered in 3.9% of leagues. So he's out there. I think it's an intriguing, like speculative ad if you have a spot on the end of your bench and are
Right.
looking for kind of that deep threat production that we've seen in Vegas before.
Right.
Going to Monday night, we're now talking about Monday night games. Probably adds up to make a little bit more sense. Proposed change by Cody, maybe a good idea.
Probably. I think it didn't make sense to me that we were doing it. Kind of my fault for not saying anything on Monday, where everyone had already started all their guys, and you had no choice but to either sit these people from their position or play these guys anyway. So figured we'd do it now and maybe help people. I don't know.
And that's what we're here to do. We're
Right.
here to help people. Not in any serious way, but through
No,
fantasy football,
for
which is
fantasy.
really probably the only way that we could do it.
Right.
I
Like
don't
I
think
mean,
we're built to help
yeah.
people in a very like serious way.
No, I mean if you were like outside and like needed an umbrella, like I could probably walk over and like hand you one, but I don't know if I'd go outside if it's raining, so maybe not actually.
Yeah. I
Probably
think
just
it's
stay inside.
just there's a separation between people who actually help people like
Mhm.
firefighters and like
Police,
people, yeah.
paramedics,
And then
bank tellers.
us offering
Yeah,
fantasy advice.
right.
Still technically helping people,
Right.
but in very different ways. Needless to say, not sure that needless was the right transition. Or we're moving on regardless.
Keep her moving, bud.
We kind of talked a lot about the Rams already. I think we
We did.
started off with like 20-minute discussion about it.
Yeah.
But if Odell were to play, you have pretty high expectations for Odell. expecting him to be in the wide receiver 2, back end wide receiver 2 mix.
Right.
Would you play him this week?
San Francisco is a tough one. Not like they're not a scary team, but they're close to being top 10 in terms of fantasy points to the wide receiver. It's going to be his first week. They're number 11 on the year. It's
Among
going
least or most?
no 11th best in terms of fantasy points to the wide receiver. Like it's if they were up one more, their thing would be red. If that makes sense. Like it's a warning. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to say it.
They are allowing the 11th least fantasy points
Yes.
to opposing
Yes.
wide receivers.
There it is. Perfect. Yeah. So I'm not like loving OBJ this week, just because it's going to be his first week there. I think he's going to get like used to the plays. It's a Monday game, so he has a little bit more time to like learn the playbook, go over everything. One more day could mean a big deal to professional guys who get paid to study plays. So could be a big deal for him. But I am excited to see him in like the upcoming weeks, like the next 2 games that they have. I'm really excited to see him play. Once he gets inclinated into the offense more, I think it's going to be an interesting transition just because, going to a new team, figuring out how you fit in with these 2 top 12 wide receivers so far with this power packed, Super Bowl bound team, I think it's going to be a fun time for him. And I think it's going to be an enjoyable time as fans to watch them play just with all the star-studded talent on this roster.
Yeah, you're not starting Odell this week. I don't think you're sitting and watching, and if
Right.
he gets 13 points or something, 15 points and a touchdown, I would not be surprised to see him score a touchdown this week if he plays,
Exactly.
and just McVay wanting to get him a look in the end zone. But you're like, oh, that's awesome. Odell has value now. And whether you want to trade him or keep him, I think that will be more decided as we see the game. But you're just happy with whatever you see from Odell, but you're happy with it on your bench.
Yeah, I think that's something we didn't talk about is us like he's going to a Sean McVay team. Like Sean McVay is probably one of my favorite coaches to watch. Like he's enthusiastic, very charismatic, and very like team oriented. Like he tries to get people involved. He's a people person. I think it's something like we didn't account for enough is like the fact that like he's going to try to make OBJ feel welcome because why wouldn't you want one of the best wide receivers when healthy to stay on your team and to help you just win multiple championships, especially if you can keep that defense that they have intact with Donald, Ramsey, and Miller. So I think like the star-studded team is just something that is going to entice him, and he's a very smart coach, and I think he's going to utilize him well. I think it might just take a couple of games for him to like fully get acclimated to the system, but I could see OBJ scoring a touchdown. I said it as someone this week. I said OBJ is going to score. I said it last night.
You also said Gaskin was going to score, which you were very close.
He was in the end zone, dude. Like he's in the end zone. You're like, hey.
Robert Hunt was also in the end zone though, and he did not score either.
I don't know. Like I told you, like they're mad at him. Like they're letting him, take.
Well, he should not have been able to touch the ball, and he was not allowed to touch it.
Yeah, but they let him take a cheap shot. If you're gonna let him take a cheap shot, you might as well let him score the football. Like you got to play it both ways here, ref. You can't just always be, look at this kid show. I won't say everything I want to say, but those refs are gonna get names.
It's always a ref thing, Cody. I noticed that you have a strong hatred towards the ref. I like to say the refs are the third team on the field, and if they so happen to win a game, I think they should be appreciated for that, applauded. Their effort should be as thought of as the players. They're going out there trying to win, just like anybody. As for the other side of things, I think your point is, before we get to that, is valid as far as McVay. Like, I was going to use that earlier, but it is a pretty, like, I don't know. I didn't think it was the greatest argument to say Sean McVay seems like the kind of guy. But I do agree that Sean McVay does seem like the kind of guy that would want to get Odell a touchdown in his first game, make him feel welcome. Just like in the case of the other guys, mainly, and I know this is going to sound a little bit biased being a Cooper Kupp guy, but like I also think he's the kind of guy who's going to want to get Cooper Kupp the record for wide receiver stats.
I
I
can see
I
it.
think that he wants he is a very like player first guy,
Mhm.
and I think he appreciates the talent that each guy gives and wants to make use of that talent where he will scheme up for the particular talents that he has on his team.
Mhm.
And I would not be surprised because of that if Odell is to get involved at least in the end zone or goal line package
Mhm.
this
I mean,
week or
right.
very soon.
I mean, just to get real meta and overanalyze this entire thing, but to like make Cooper Cup remain as open and as great as he's been so far, you're going to have to hit OBJ for a couple games and make teams respect OBJ and give him a nice chunk of plays out there and a nice chunk of plays designated to get him the ball so teams can't just focus up on Cooper Cup anymore. Now I have to play all three. Another reason why I'm kind of keen on him in the upcoming weeks, OBJ, I mean, Cooper Cup's going to take a small hit, I think. Still going to be a wide receiver one by a long shot, inside top 5 for sure, like no question in my mind. But to like your point of getting Cooper Cup the record, like that's not going to happen if he is starting to get double. Like if he's just going to get double teamed and they're going to try to force feed him the ball the entire time. Cooper Cup's great, but Cooper Cup is one man. If you put two guys on him, double the hands, double the defensive pass interference attempts that aren't going to be called. It just is what it is. So you have to like kind of scheme him open by hitting other people more. That's all I'm saying, and that's all I was trying to get across.
I agree with that. I mean, I think they do a good job of getting everybody their
Mhm.
touches. Like, so that's what makes me not really worry about any person in this offense
Mhm.
struggling in fantasy. Unless we're talking about maybe Van Jefferson at this
Van
point.
Jefferson, yeah, I think Van
Yeah. So
Jefferson
it
is
was a
going.
tough day for Van Jefferson. Um,
Yeah,
on to the San Francisco side, Brandon Ayuk talked about earlier. He had a big week last week.
he did.
I'm unfortunately starting him over Cortland Sutton in one of my leagues. And I say unfortunately, like there's worse people to start than Brandon Ayuk for sure, especially against a Rams team where number one, I guess this Rams defense plays a lot of zone, so like it's not the craziest thing to say like, oh, Jalen Ramsey is going to play on Debo Samuel the entire game. Play a lot of
Mhm.
zone, so it's not going to be like Jalen Ramsey versus Debo, and
Mhm.
Ayuk's always going to get the number 2 guy. Also, Ramsey moves around a lot. I think Ayuk will see time against Ramsey as well.
Right.
But in a game where we expect just talking up the Rams offense for at least 30 minutes of the show, that San Francisco is going to have to throw the ball around and keep up with this Rams offense. How do
Right.
you feel about Ayuk being
I
able
like that.
to keep this
Yeah.
up?
I like Ayuk. I mean, Kittle is dealing with a calf injury. He was limited today. But I mean, you are going to be a little bit less explosive uh, if you're Kittle. You just kind of have to be. I mean,
But
like
he
you're
had
not
the calf injury last week.
right, and like the fact that it didn't go away. I think that's what kind of is like a little bit concerning. You still start Kittle. You still are not like worried about him. But I think like he just won't be able to get as open on some plays. Won't be as explosive off the line. I mean, if your calf is like hurting you, you know, I mean,
I'm not worried
I
about his
don't know
calf.
if you've ever like woken up and like your calf is just insanely tight, but like that is like one of the most painful experiences ever when like your calf muscle just fully tightens up on you and you can't move your leg. I don't know if that's what he's experiencing, but like it's like I hate it. You drink pickle juice. But anyway, Mitchell also has a rib injury. He was limited. So I think they're going to have to lean on the pass a little bit more. And obviously, playing the Rams, they have a great team. Acquiring OBJ makes them a better team. You're going to have to pass even more to keep up. And I think it just a lot of things are on the table that lead to a good Brandon Ayuk game, like double digits. Um, you know, I can see him getting 7 to 9 targets, maybe somehow be able to manage his way into the end zone. I like Brandon Ayuk this week. I'm not worried, but like a little concerned just because of how Brandon Ayuk has performed so far this year.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that it's Brandon Ayuk's fault. Like I think we talked about that a little bit. I don't know how he can jump from being that good and in like a couple weeks if he wasn't that good to start the year. We'll see. It's not as bad as Sirianni as far as not being able to trust a head coach, but Shanahan does make it tough sometimes for fantasy managers. Anything else you want to talk about for that game or any of the games for that matter?
No, it's going to be a fun game to watch for sure on Monday night. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be a good one.
Cool. Cody, you guys heard it here first from
It'll
Cody.
it'll be better.
Going to be a good
It's
one.
going to be a better game than Baltimore versus Miami.
Second take extra with a new avatar here.
How about them Cowboys? I don't know how about them.
Them boys. What is the status on Godwin, J-Rob, DK, and Alvin Kamara? So Alvin Kamara looks like he is not going to play. Nothing has been made official that I have seen yet.
Not that.
But from the reports, which we know may or may not be true, they are game planning for the fact that he is not going to play. DK is nursing a foot injury. From what I saw or what I've heard so far, I don't expect that it is going to keep him out of this game. He has been limited in practice most weeks with this foot injury. So not something that's really, since week 4, he has had absences because of that. So not something that I am too worried about. James Robinson. What was that?
Oh, I've Godwin pulled up if you want.
Okay. I can say James Robinson quick. Yeah. James Robinson is, I think, like a true questionable, like going to probably be a game times decision from Urban Meyer. They said that it is very up in the air whether he will play or not. And then to Cody with Godwin.
He returned to practice today, but the Bucs aren't 100% confident that he is going to play. It's going to be a decision that they make Sunday, they said.
Yeah, a couple other injury things just in the meantime. I know that CEH, they said it's probably a stretch that he returns Sunday night, but expect him back next week. Obviously, both of the Patriots running backs did not practice today from what I have seen so far. So that situation is very much still up in the air. In Cleveland, they said there is a slim chance, but there is a chance that Nick Chubb could return. I wouldn't be banking on that. And those are kind of some of the main things. Antonio Brown was announced out. You might have already said that. And that is the main stuff. If you guys have any other questions on injury statuses, just throw some names in the chat and I will try to recall. The rest of the things are just very complimentary. Serial killer.
Nice.
Show was great. I appreciate it. I don't appreciate all serial killers, but I appreciate you, serial killer.
It sounds great.
There was also a rumor on the show that Cody was in fact serial killer. He's not. Well, I want to make that very clear.
Right. Was not me. Was proven innocent.
It was also like in the 40s or something.
Right. So a long time ago.
Agreed. Fantastic show and great input. We appreciate the Psych Take Extra as always. We appreciate all you for tuning in and spending your days with us. We've done like 30 episodes now, so it's pretty wild to just, number one, see the consistency that we've actually been able to do this for so long. And then number two, see people actually tune in. So,
and then we haven't been taken down yet. That's probably the most important
also an accomplishment of its own.
Yeah.
So that is it for us, unless there are any other questions to answer.
Are we doing bold predictions?
Oh, I forgot all
I,
about that.
it's okay. I mean, after the week you had last week and the week I had, I understand why you wanted to forget it.
Okay. Well, do you want to? I can recall last week.
I know all. I have it written down.
Okay. So do you want to?
I'm going to go first. And I'm going to say yours.
Of
Just
course.
because. So Condo's first bold prediction for last week was Brandon Cooks would be a number one wide receiver. Sadly, Brandon Cooks was not the number one wide receiver in fantasy football. He was not, sad to say. Your second one was D. Williams, top 8 running back this week. He was not the top 8 running back last week. If I look, running back, no idea where he is, but I had to keep scrolling to find it. So, not great. And the last one you had was Justin Fields, top 5 quarterback on the week. Justin Fields had a better game, but he was number 10, so double what your prediction was. You were close. I'll give you that one. You're close. I'm going to give you a point for it because that's just too nice, and I'm not a nice guy. But you're close.
You definitely should not give me a point.
No, I won't. But on to the bright side that I am, I had a pretty good week last week. I said Mike Williams would be outside the top 20 wide receivers. He finished in the 40s, so I nailed that one on that. Second one I said was Henderson would be outside the top 15 running back. I believe he finished around 30, so was not a good game for Henderson.
You said that was a bold take. I
did indeed. Well, Henderson is what, RB 12 on the year, so I think that was kind of bold.
To be outside the top 15. I want to ask.
He was up higher until that last one. So I think.
So where would he have been? What did he have last week?
So he had. I'm looking. Hold on. So I know Sony Michel outperformed him. He had 8.8 last week.
Where would he have been with a touchdown?
With a touchdown?
Yep.
So add 6 to it.
14.8.
14.8. He would have been right above CMC. So 1, 2, 3. He would have been number 15 on the dot.
That was my argument. I said a touchdown makes or breaks it.
You don't get a point. You didn't say last week. So
I did say that last week. I said a touchdown makes or breaks it. That's why I think 15, it only matters if he scores a touchdown or not. That's really all that matters.
Yeah, happens. Anyway.
I do want to make that very clear.
Hurts. Anyway, keep moving forward here and the rights that I had.
Yeah, cut me.
Hurts.
Well, now I guess this is your segment. Your turn to cut me off.
Right. Hurts.
Payment probably.
Outside top 9 quarterbacks on the week. Finished number 11, so he barely almost got it. I like Hurts. I think he's going to be a top 5 at the end of the year. But I didn't like their matchup last week. And one I got wrong was Brandon Cooks would be wide receiver 2 to 6. I was wrong on that one. So I got 3 points last week, Kondo.
Okay. Whoa. That's the first thing I'm calling you out on because you said, oh, I got 2. I'm going to pick 1. And the Mike Williams thing was the one you crossed off. So that's a little wild that we're just throwing in. Oh, yeah. I got 3 points last week. I took 4 guesses. Kondo only got 3, but
I said you had as many as
you want. Points last week. Now, if I was in your situation where I was down by as many as you are,
I think we're tied now. Aren't we tied now?
Yeah, when you get an extra pick, I guess we are.
Well, since you're not counting Mike Williams, I got 2 right.
I do want to take a look here. I believe it was more than that.
I don't believe so.
Let me take a look and see if I can find.
I'll let you take your look here.
Anything here.
You take your look. You take your time.
So I have 2 notebooks, and I literally just use the opposite one every week. And I don't really have a rhyme or reason for it. It's just the one that I pick up. But It makes it, as you could probably expect, very complicated to find anything.
Not good.
But as I look around here, I had 5 and you had 3.
So now we're tied.
Correct.
Look at that.
5-5. Big comeback week for Toady.
Big comeback week.
Um,
Big, huge comeback week.
So
Absolutely.
why don't you start it off first here?
So I don't know. I don't really have good ones this week. I feel a little shaky about these, just because of all the injuries. So these aren't going to be great. If I said Knox with a top 5 week for the tight end, believe he's coming back to play, right? Or no, he's out. Is he officially out? I can't find him. No, he's in. He's in. Dawson Knox, top 5 fantasy week for the top 5 tight end week. Sorry.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dawson Knox, who was a top 5 tight end when healthy, is going to be a top 5 tight end now that he's healthy.
I mean, Mark Andrews, who was Mark Andrews, who was outside the top 5, just put up 18.3. We now have Kelsey.
Where was he outside of the top 5? He also had his bye week, I want to mention too.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have that ability to look it up, Kondo, so I'm sorry. All I know is Mark Andrew put up 2 points, or 5 points, 10, 15, 11, 41, 17, 7, 9, 18. So
yeah, I can't really tell right now either. He's number 2 tight end in fantasy right
now. He is. I mean, he has one more game than everyone else. So.
Yes. But I guess I now have to do my bold prediction, which I try to make bold and account for, that. And I think, you know what?
What?
I don't know.
That's what I asked.
I don't know if this one's going to be that bold.
Probably not.
So I'm going to try to raise it up a little bit. There's a chance that Chris Godwin doesn't play. There's a chance that Rob Gronkowski doesn't play. There's a very good chance, since he's already been ruled out, that Antonio Brown doesn't play.
Mike Evans.
I think this is going to be a monster Mike Evans game, and I'm going to say that Mike Evans is the number 1 fantasy point scorer in all of fantasy this week.
I'll give it to you, Conno. That's bold.
I couldn't say the number 1 wide receiver.
So. I mean, you could have.
I wouldn't have felt great about it. I wouldn't have felt great about putting the bold next to my name on the bottom of the screen.
Right. My second one, not feeling great about it, but I think Dearness Johnson finishes as a top 5 running back on the week. Nick Chubb could play, so I don't know why you're looking at me like, oh, it's crazy. Because then on Monday,
he got the backfield to himself, and he was a top 5 running back.
1 week. Then he got 9 points the next week after in Pittsburgh.
He was the backup running back.
Right. He had to touch it 24 times and score a touchdown to do it. He would have had 18 points if he didn't get it. You're the one who has Toady Tim mistakes up there.
Well, there's a reason that I have Toady Tim. The first week we did it, it was not Toady's Tim takes.
It was up there.
It was quickly changed in accordance to what we needed to adjust, because we couldn't lie. We talked about this. We're not a false advertising show. We couldn't tell people, oh, it's going to be Cody's bold takes, and then he's going to put the only running back for the Cleveland Browns in the top 5.
Running back 62 on the year. Yes.
Okay. I don't want to bring personal stuff into this.
Only 1 week above 20 points.
And it was the 1 week that he started.
Only 1 week.
Well, I feel like that's not
a very
misleading argument.
He also did it against Denver.
He did it against the Broncos, who just held Zeke.
But they've been getting exposed after Denver played 3 bad teams, and then they started to get exposed in their 3 straight losses that they had.
They held the Cowboys rushing attack.
Okay, and we already talked about Zeke.
They held your boy Pollard too.
Nah, they did hold Pollard, but like it was a horse collar, and like just grabbing his jersey, ripping it to shreds. So yes,
That did not
they
happen.
did hold
Okay.
Pollard.
If you just want to lie, then like
You are
that's fine.
correct. You are correct in that.
Um,
They held him.
I'm going to go with another backup running back
Nice,
in the top 5,
nice.
and that running back is going to be Devin Singletary.
Oh, I like that.
Devin Singletary, top 5 performance against the Jets. Feels like just kind of everything sets up for him as long as Zach Moss doesn't play,
Right.
which I guess is possibly as bold of a part of this as any of the rest of it.
I made these predictions on Tuesday when I wrote down my predictions early, which might have been my mistake this week just with all the injuries because I had Kamara on my board for a bold prediction, and can't use Kamara now because I feel like that's a cheap shot. Obviously, since he's going to miss the game probably.
I mean, you could.
Yeah, nah. I'm the one. I don't want to take the condo road on this. I'll go with a quarterback. Just trying to figure out who I want to use. Do I want to go with Kyler? I might go with Kyler.
That's a risky one too. We don't know if Kyler's going to play.
I mean, he is a game time decision. I can't use Kyler. I want to double down on my man. I don't know how I feel about it.
Patrick Mahomes, 35-point game.
Nah, he's gonna get 34 on the dot just to spite me. Just like James or Jonathan Taylor got 153 or 58 yards total, but not on the ground for you. I'm gonna go Dak Prescott, top 3 fantasy quarterback this week. Quarterback 14 on the year.
Okay.
We have a down season from everyone else. So
he's currently
14
ranked. This is like Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings.
Oh.
Number 4 quarterback on the week.
Great. And Lamar Jackson was ranked number 2 and put up a stud of 15 points against Miami.
This is true.
I mean,
so that puts him really in the top 3.
I mean, potentially, yeah. I mean, Matt Stafford is playing San Francisco, who has a worse defense against the pass. So,
and he is ranked below.
Right. And Matt Stafford is QB4.
I want to go with a kind of wacky one here. And I don't know how I really feel about it. But I think we need to give some defenses some love in this segment.
Are you going defenses? Like
we never seen it before. So I think that makes it bold in its own right.
I don't think so. I just didn't think we were doing defenses and kickers. I thought this was kind of like a skilled position player, but I mean,
I'm a rule breaker at the end of the day. Some people call me a bad boy, and I want to live up to that image. That's
disgusting.
I'm going to go the Denver Broncos defense puts up 15 points.
Denver against Philadelphia? Interesting.
They're currently on Fantasy Pros ranked as the number 12 defense in fantasy for the week.
Number 4 on the year. So, hey. Number 4 on the year. How many times
have they put up 15 points?
1, 2.
Yeah.
You said 15 points?
Yep.
Denver Broncos defense.
If that's not bold enough for you, I can do another.
Denver defense, 15 points against Philadelphia. I just got to look at something real quick.
Okay. You do your looking.
I'm just, yeah. I'm a curious guy.
I bet.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, very curious and trying to prove me wrong.
No, I was just trying to figure out how many yards Philadelphia averages. Only 350.
Only? Where does that rank?
Middle of the road. I mean, they're beating out. I mean, I don't know. It depends what you consider like a bad team. I mean, they're one above Denver with one more, actually 0.2 more yards than Denver. If you think Denver's offense is extremely explosive.
Where does
New
it
England,
compare to like a San Francisco?
they're below San Francisco.
Okay.
So San Francisco gets more yards than them. They
I
are.
don't like when you have the stats and I don't have the stats.
It's on ESPN. You just gotta
Well,
look at it.
I can get there eventually, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Mhm.
Sometimes, Toady,
Mhm.
don't trust you with the stats.
My stats are always what they say. I mean, they
Yeah,
get
but
three.
like you're the one who always says you can manipulate the stats whatever way you want.
Exactly.
I don't know. I
You're gonna
trust
come
you
on and be like,
to
"Oh,
not manipulate
Seattle."
the stats. As is very clear here. You said that Philadelphia was ahead of oh, sorry. Continue. You continue your point.
I'm just saying, like they get 350 yards. It's gonna be a tough one. Or 346 yards, not 350. Sorry, I don't want to give them extra yards.
Oh, you know who that is also ahead of? Green Bay.
Great.
I think Green Bay is pretty good off.
I mean, Green Bay, what they have week 1.
Is that gonna like ruin their whole year?
I mean, for 9 games, I think it kind of puts a little. Okay, but that's over 10%, and however much Green Bay put up week 1 was pitiful, to say the least. So, Aaron Rodgers, I'll look at Aaron real quick, just because I'm a big Aaron Rodgers supporter and believer.
Oh, we can't dwell on this too long.
No, it's okay.
If we want to make a stink about it, I can pick someone else other than the Denver Broncos defense, who you said was playing friggin' like what's the word I'm looking for? Was playing cupcake teams all year, and that's the only time they did anything. I can pick another defense other than them.
I already wrote it down in the notes. So,
well, I want to do another one because you're gonna just say, "Oh, it's bad."
Nah, it's too late. It's already in the book. If you want to go forward, then I'll come up with another one. But you gotta just tell me your 4th one. It's all right.
No, because I think you want to go forward. So I'm trying to just do what you don't want me to do, and now I'm overthinking it. So I'm kind of put in a rough spot for being bold. This is the price you pay for being bold, being a bad boy.
It's tough.
And I guess I'm willing to do a bad boy thing and say, I don't care.
Oh my gosh.
Even if I do care.
Aaron Jones put up 9 yards week 1. That is actually insane.
Is Russell Wilson playing? Yes, Russell Wilson is playing.
He is indeed.
Yeah. So that is, I think, our show. Before we stretch this out too long.
I think it's an hour and a half. This is like one of our shorter ones.
Yeah, but we just talked about the Denver defense and the Philadelphia Eagles offense, which statistically has been better than the Packers offense. And
true. Statistically worse than the Washington offense.
It's true. But we've been talking about them for way too long. So that is it for us. Best of luck in your matchups this weekend. Enjoy the Week 10 slate of games, and we will be here on Monday to recap it all with you guys. Like, subscribe. Feel free to do all that stuff if you like it and want to subscribe. If you don't, then probably just don't do that. You should feel empowered as yourself to do what you want to do. I think that's a really big message that maybe can even span further than liking and possibly subscribing to our show. That's it. We will see you all on Monday.
See you all then.